Welcome back, guys. This segment is going to be about the MLB season so far. Opening weekend was yesterday. A lot of great games, jam-packed. So we're here with Shane again. Thanks for joining. So let's just start off. Ryota, do you want to kind of preface what the MLB weekend was like?
Yeah, so I'll just go over the MLB standings right now because that's clearly what we're really enticed by right now. So AL East, Orioles are tied first place with the Rays and the Yankees, 2-1. Blue Jays and Red Sox are 1-2. AL Central, we got the Twins and Indians and Tigers tied for first, 2-1 also. White Sox and Royals are 1-2. AL West, Astros and A's on top, 2-1. 1-2 are the Mariners, Angels, and Rangers. Quickly to the National League, the Marlins are on top as well, 2-1 with the Braves. 1-2 are the Phillies, Mets, and Nationals. Probably surprising the Nationals are 1-2. NL Central, Cubs and Cardinals have won 2 games, lost 1. Brewers, Reds, and Pirates tied third all the way down. NL West, Padres and Rockies lead 2-1. Dodgers, Giants are 2-2. Diamondbacks are 1-2. And then let's see. Yeah, I mean.
Side note.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Side note: no team is 0-3 and no team's 3-0. So you notice that. So that's like the first time.
Yeah,
I know. I read it's that first time in a while. So you know.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah. Doesn't say a whole lot yet about who's going to win the World Series yet. I highly doubt the Marlins are going to make the playoffs still. But any first impressions from all the games you guys have been watching? Things you liked, things you didn't like?
Shane, I'll let you start.
All right. So I mean, yeah, my 2 favorites this year are my 2 sleepers, kind of sleepers, but teams that weren't like the Dodgers or the Yankees to win it all. I like the Rays and I like the Reds. Mm-hmm. So I mean the Reds, they had brand new coaching staff. They had Kyle Bodie from Driveline. So they have guys that just sling absolute like heaters over there, like Trevor Bauer, like Michael Lorenzen, Robert Stevenson, like Amir Garrett. They have like an elite pitching staff, especially signing Castellanos. Moustakis, you saw Moose went off first game. He did get hurt though, so you got to monitor that. But dude, like the Reds should make a real run for it this year. Especially in Great American Ballpark. The balls freaking fly over there. So you got Moose, you got Suarez, you got Castellanos. I think they just hit nukes, dude. So
it is a power team.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, my first impressions are definitely the Dodgers are really good. Even when they did split 2-2 with your Giants, I still think that team has World Series aspirations, and I think they're the clear favorites. I think they just might need more time to get going, but I mean that team looks very, very good. Mookie will always be Mookie, and then they just have depth. One player that I thought is always so consistent, and I feel like even given his age, he always performs, is Nelson Cruz. I think he went off yesterday. He had, I think, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs or something crazy like that. And I mean, it really gives the Twins a chance to be a contender. I think that could be a sleeper team as well. That talking about hitting bombs, I think if you put that with Josh Donaldson and then especially with the season they had last year, I think they could be a sleeper team as well. But Nelson Cruz has been impressive so far for me.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 baseball, it's throw hard, hit nukes. Throw hard, hit nukes. You win games. Like that's all it is, really. Especially like other team I was gonna say is the Rays. The Rays, they're like, dude, they have their pitching staff, one hell of a pitching staff. Like especially all their pen guys. Like you look at the spin rate numbers on those guys, like all like upper 2000s, like crazy. Like Nick Anderson. Shoot, like maybe with the shortened season this year, we see a reliever win Cy Young with a 0 ERA. Like that could be something crazy. I don't know what the odds are for that, but it's got to be crazy in Vegas or something. But that would be insane. I mean, it might be tough to see like those guys get like the volume needed to win a Cy Young, but it's never been done a 0 ERA, especially in this shortened season. Like really, shoot, anything can happen in baseball, and especially with this 68 game season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
it truly happened. Yeah.
A reliever winning a Cy Young has never happened, but then again, a shortened season has never happened either. So first time for anything.
Yeah.
Ryota, who's impressed you?
Yeah, I'll kind of touch on. Well, first, my sleeper team. Just since we're all taking hot takes here already, I'm gonna say the Phillies are my team. I'll go into more depth later, but I want to talk about the two teams Shane talked about. So Cincinnati and Tampa Bay. So I think Tampa Bay's starting to become a really respected team, and yeah, all around they're five rotation pitchers: Morton, Yarborough, who pitched really well recently, Glass now. We all know about Blake Snell, former Cy Young, and Yanni Chirinos at the back end. That's a really solid five rotation. I think it's probably one of the best in the whole MLB right now. You could say, if they pitch how they did last year or in their prime. And yeah, their bullpen's really good. They got Jalen Beeks, Jose Alvarado, Kittredge, Chaz Rowe, Oliver Drake, Castillo. It's just a bunch of good, fiery names there. And all around their lineup, I think they're doing okay. They have Jose Martinez at first or DH. Mike Zunino's questionable as a catcher. Yandy Diaz, who had a really good year last couple of years. Leah Damas, who's a growing shortstop in the league. And their outfield is where it's really at, right? Kevin Kiermaier, Yoshi Tsutsuko, who they signed from Japan, who's a big power hitter. And hopefully once Austin Meadows is back and healthy, he's going to, man center field or right field or left field. But overall, it's a really good team. And yeah, like the Reds are kind of a sleeper. I think when I was listening to the Braves game, I think it was Rick Sutcliffe who said his team to win was the Reds. And I was kind of like, huh. And I look at their lineup, and yeah, their starting rotation's pretty good. Luis Castillo, Gray, and Bauer, that's a good three. I think their 4 and their 5 are kind of not quite there yet. And then they have some good hitters. Yeah, Castellanos, Moustakas, Eugenio Suarez. Freddie Galvis playing shortstop has been always kind of like a solid player. Outfielder's okay. They got Shogo Akiyama from Japan, who I really like, kind of like an Ichiro-esque player. Nick Senzel, who's kind of a prospect, but not really sure he's there anymore. But I think that could be a solid team as well. But going back to the Phillies, the rotation, I think Drew and I talked about this before, right? Nola, Wheeler, Velasquez, or Arrieta, Eflin, or maybe Pivetta. That's a solid, at least 2 or 3 pitchers right there, especially if Arrieta can get back to his, Cy Young-esque, pitching seasons. Around the lineup, that's where it's really at. Real Muto, probably one of the best catchers in the league, playing catcher. Rhys Hoskins, Jay Bruce, Didi Gregorius, Gene Segura, Harper, McCutcheon. So that's my sleepers right there.
Yeah, then going back to the Rays and lineup, G-Man Choi. I don't know if you saw him yesterday. The dude learned to switch hit over the off season, bro. Like, he's like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna hit right-handed now. First at AB right-handed, hits an absolute piss missile to left center. Like, dude, like that's insane. And now he's probably getting more playing time as a switch hitter. You can plug him in anywhere, dude. That's insane.
I saw him. I saw a video from the Rays. Like he was, taking that bat during the summer camp. I thought it was like a joke. They were just doing it. I didn't realize he was actually going to do it in games. And see a home run. I was like, oh,
yeah, okay. Like first AB nuke. Like that's how it goes.
Another interesting topic for the MLB is the MLB playoff extension. Right, that's kind of been that was announced like a week ago, maybe. No, maybe. When was it announced, Drew? Like a week ago, right?
Yeah, like 3 days ago. Okay. It was pretty recent.
Yeah, pretty recent. We haven't had a chance to touch on it, so let's talk about it now, especially with Shane here as an expert. So originally, it's always been 10 teams making the playoffs, right? And then this year they're extending it to 16. So the way to think about it is 3 division winners, and then the second place teams make it, and then you have the two best third place teams, which is kind of like the wild card now. And this is very similar to the MLS return playoff bracket. Do you remember, Drew? Like the first and second place team from each group make it automatically, and then the best third place teams. It's almost the exact same thing, except they don't really have as much West AL NL division. But really similar format. What do you guys think about it?
I'm in favor of it. If it means a better chance for the Mariners to make the playoffs, why wouldn't I be? It's not like the Mariners are like the best team and want less teams to play against. So I'm all for it. It will be interesting to see if they move it along next season as well. I think it's great for the game. I think, when you think of the MLB, you think of a long stretch. It's a marathon. And then when you get down to the last 2 months, the 60 games and like the hunt for October, you get excitement going. And I think if you can have more cities be more excited about it, then it hypes up the game more and more. So that's my thing. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, same thing from a Giants fan. Giants, Mariners, we're essentially in the same boat. We suck, but that's all right. Like we're young, we're rebuilding. It's like who knows? We get hot for a month, right? Get hot for a month and a half. Should we sneak into the playoffs? Then you get what 3-game series for I don't know how long, but 3-game series like
Anything can
baseball,
happen.
3-game series, anything can happen, dude. Especially, all right, talking real quick about a bet. Giants were like plus 25,000 to win, right? So I sprinkled $5 on that. Who knows if they win? That's like
Win
a
the
grand and a
go
half
in the
in my
playoffs or
pocket.
win the World Series.
Win the whole thing, dude. It's an even year. Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
Even year.
Oh
Who
my.
knows? Right?
I mean, yeah, I
So,
think for the teams like the Mariners and the Giants, where it's more of like a rebuilding and we want to see like the youth movement, I think it is fun
yeah,
to have more opportunity to get into the playoffs. But some of these teams, I feel like this is a really top heavy season. If I
yeah,
mean, like you have some sleepers, but all in all, like Houston is still very, very good. And I mean, losing Verlander is tough. And if we don't know like his thing, but if they can keep him, they still have a great rotation. I think their lineup is always stacked. Like, I mean, the Mariners had to go through it, so I've seen it, but I think they can still perform without trash cans. And then you have the Yankees, I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, I think it's a lot of top heavy teams this year. What do you guys think? I mean, I guess we're all on sleepers, but what do you guys think about top heaviness compared to overall quality of teams?
Well, I mean, one thing I want to talk about is like the trade deadline, right? So the trade deadline has always been interesting to MLB because since only 10 teams make it, that means 22 teams don't really try and aren't competitive. But when you make it 16, that's half the league,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like the NBA. That's why, teams like the Wizards can still compete in the playoffs, or even
The Suns.
if you go 500 in the NBA, that's good, right? Or you make the playoffs. So it definitely brings an interesting dynamic to the MLB. And I think you're right. There are a lot of top heavy teams. There are teams that we expect to make the playoffs. Like let's say the AL East, it's probably going to the Yankees and Rays and Red Sox, or maybe throwing the Blue Jays in that mix, right? Or
Yeah.
if you look at the AL West, you have kind of clear front runners. But at the same time, like, I don't know, just looking at the AL West right now, I think the Astros probably make it. Athletics make it, but who's going to be
Mm-hmm.
that third place team? Or who knows if the Athletics struggle this year? I don't know. Maybe the Mariners sweep in. Same with the NL West, right?
Yeah.
Is there a clear winner besides the Dodgers? No, not really, right? Like Padres, Rockies,
Yeah.
Giants, Diamondbacks. Like
Yeah.
it gives Giants hope. So I think that's cool. It gives teams a little bit more hope, and they can still commit to rebuilding. Just keeping that, just not calling players up early. For example,
Mm-hmm.
like the Mariners, I don't think the Mariners should call up Kalenic just to save his service time and make sure he feels really comfortable. Same with Joey Bart, right? Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they'd be better off having Joey Bart start right now, but that's not what it is about, right? If we can compete with what we have, then we can compete. But if not, like against that mindset. So I think it's cool. It brings a new dynamic. And I think the trade deadline is August 31st. So that'll be really interesting because some teams really do need some needs. Like I was looking at the Reds depth chart right now. I don't even know who the first baseman is, you know?
First
So I
baseman for the
think
Reds.
it said Christian Cologne. I was looking at it earlier. I don't know if that's right. I don't think he's been playing first
I have
base.
no idea.
Where's Votto been playing DH or outfield?
Oh wait, yeah. Okay, well, never mind.
Well, yeah,
I
Votto.
forgot
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Votto.
Votto.
The
Yeah,
depth
yeah,
chart just
Votto.
totally forgot about Votto, and I even
Good
have him
guy
on my
too.
team. I totally forgot about.
Yeah,
Okay, but never mind. But there are some teams who definitely need some needs, and then this is where the league-wide DH comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
All those NL teams can really boost their lineups. If the I don't know Giants needed another DH, they could go trade for Edwin Encarnacion or something. If the White Sox are
I mean
good.
that would have been the perfect place for Posey. He doesn't have to play behind the dish every day, but
Yeah,
he opted
exactly.
out.
So
He's got kids, so
yeah,
I can understand that.
but there are a lot of interesting dynamics to this trade deadline, competing, who's going to make the playoffs, but it's definitely enticing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be hard. I mean, so when is the trade deadline?
August 31st, almost a month from
So
now.
it's almost a month. So how can you really value, especially with relievers? Isn't relievers the hot commodity when it comes to trade deadlines? I
Hmm.
feel like that's tough. I don't know. That's hard. I feel like it's tough to be Mariners because we want to give out. I mean, ideally, if Kyle Seager keeps performing, we would trade him, right?
Or
But I
V
don't know how much
Gordon.
return we would get for a month of him showing off his skill set
That's a
and
good point.
trading it.
I didn't really think about that. That's a really good point.
Shane, do you like the universal DH too? Before we get into more of the trade deadline?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's,
Do you think
if
it'll
you have it
stick?
in one side of the league, yeah, it's got to. One side, if you have it in one side of the league, like you gotta just like, I don't even know why the AL had it in the first place. Just the AL. It was some old ass rule, but
Traditionalist.
traditionalist. Yeah, it's yeah. Baseball's such a traditional sport. Like yeah, screw that. Like I want bat flips. I want dudes yelling at each other. Like let's make this game fun. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So like
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, it would be interesting, like you said, Nelson Cruz possibly in the NL for the first time.
Yeah.
Edwin
And
Encarnacion, like that would be
yeah.
crazy. You don't think about that, and it does give more trade value to those players. They're
Yeah, I mean,
not
especially
stuck.
those guys like these geezers. They still bang though.
Yeah,
Encarnacion hit a dinger the other day, and then Cruz 7 ribbies, 2 nukes. Like
exactly.
you know,
Um, talking about like, so we've also talked about like performers and like who we thought performed well. Who are you guys disappointed with so far? I mean, it's only been 3 games, but can you guys think of one player that's not really living up to the standards? For me,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. Well, I don't know. For me, I think it's not one person, but I think it's the bullpen, like every bullpen. I think I don't know what game I watched, but when the relievers came in, I think there's a combined 10 walks amongst both teams in like 3 innings or 4 innings or five.
Mm.
It was insane. So I think that the underperforming position for me, and I know I said player, but now I'm plugging into position, is got to be the bullpen. I mean, I don't know. I just think they're kind of rusty, and we see that more in the bullpen than with starters so far.
Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point. Just kind of, I guess we can kind of talk about just the bigger MLB in general rather than just players right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, players are rusty. Some of the games I've watched are really, really boring. Like I watched the DeGrom versus Soroka game, and obviously those pitchers are elite and they had great performances. DeGrom went 5 innings, and I have it down somewhere. DeGrom went like 5 innings with like 8 Ks and 72 pitches. Soroka went 6 innings with that's not right. 6 innings with 3 Ks and 70 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, those guys are good, but like they just couldn't score, couldn't hit the ball. And I think we'll probably see in the next week or two to see who's really prepared and who's not. And I think you're right. Some bullpens have been really shaky. The Mariners bullpen kind of blew the past couple of games against the Astros. I watched, but also at the same time, I've seen some really good bullpens, like the Mets and Braves bullpen did pretty well to hold the game to like a 1-0 game. And also we saw the Angels versus Oakland game that went to extra innings. That was a really close game until the grand slam and struggling inning by Hansel Robles, the closer. But yeah, we've seen some players, some big stars struggling. Like Christian Yelich has been very slow. I think his only hit has been a home run. Up to this point, Cody Bellinger is off to a slow start. So is Acuna, Lindor. Some of the top names. Like I have Freddie Freeman on my team, and he's had like 1 hit maybe with a couple walks, but that's it. And I think that's probably what we're going to see across the league. Just it's going to take time for some of the elite athletes to get better. But I think elite pitchers have been dominating. I think that's one trend we've seen.
Yeah, I think especially with one thing with hitters, like the biggest thing for hitting, like guys will always have power. Juice is juice. But like the thing is like hitting, like biggest thing is like who knows over this quarantine, like were guys seeing live ABs, getting live pitching? Probably not, right? So like the biggest thing is timing, right? You got to differentiate like seeing a fastball from a slider. You got these like hard sliders, no dot sliders that are going to be like you can't even differentiate the two, especially just getting your timing back, especially as a hitter, is probably the biggest thing. As far as like pitching, these guys probably been throwing pens like all throughout quarantine. All you need is really like bucket of balls and like a mat, or a catcher, So these guys, you see a lot of these pitchers, I think, like going deeper than normal, or like, going deeper than like they would from like the beginning of like the regular MLB season, since it's a shortened season. And they've been throwing, they've been throwing pens and stuff, and so yeah, the biggest thing I think for these kind of somewhat low scoring games is just as for hitters, just getting that timing back is probably pretty tough.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does really come down to live pitching at the end of the day. and we are seeing. I mean, I talked highly about Mookie Betts, but I'm just looking at stats now. 3 for 20 so far, 2 runs and 1 RBI. He's batting 150. So, I mean, as a fan, I guess you have to buckle in for the slow starts, and hopefully it doesn't progress even further, because it is 60 games only. Yeah, and like, if you keep having this prolonged slump, your team suffers. I mean, that just puts you out of shot for a playoff spot.
I mean, but one game is worth 2. And like each pitcher is only making 11 starts, 12 starts max, right? So like each start is like, it counts. Like each start is like you don't have much room for error. You're only making 11 starts as opposed to like 20 something. So you're only throwing half the inning. So you gotta make each start count.
So what would you guys rather have? A great 3 starting pitchers or a deep bullpen during this 60-game season?
I say pen. I mean, a lot of ways. Like I think bullpens can win championships too. Bullpens and obviously starting pitching, like you gotta have good starters, but like a bullpen is like what carries like you can have like, look at the Giants yesterday. This is an example. So they have like Kapler was experimenting with like having openers and starters. So they had Smiley throw 3 innings, gave up 1 run, right? And then the pen threw 6 innings after that, new pitcher each inning. And with the pen, they went 6 innings, like 1 hit, no earned. So, and the Giants won 3-1. So that pen can really bail your starter out, and it could like, lock down those games. I don't know, you've seen like all the past World Series winners, like when the Giants were winning all, they had great bullpen. Like when the Royals were really good, they had, 3-headed monster. They had like Herrera, they had Wade Davis, Then when the Indians were really good, they all these top teams, the Yankees, they have a stacked pen. So
yeah, it really
I
shortens
think
the game.
bullpen is like, pretty underrated.
That's true. Really shortens the game when you get into the 7th inning. Ryota, what are your takes on it?
Yeah, especially during this time when hitters are still adjusting, and it's going to take them time to get used to live pitching, seeing 100 miles per hour. But yeah, when you see different pitchers each inning or each at bat, that makes it so much harder to adjust, right? Let's say the Drew Smiley example. If Drew Smiley went 7 innings, I'm sure many of the Dodgers have faced Smiley before. And when you faced a pitcher before, it's so much easier to recognize and get into the groove of things. And it's just also about confidence, right? So it's hard to get out of a slump in baseball. So when you see maybe Smiley, who you've gone 5 for 10 against in your career, and you can start to time it up and hit a home run, that's going to give you a huge confidence booster. But when you see, Dodger pitchers like Sean Anderson, who's young, who's barely been in the bullpen, like it's your first time you've seen it, and he has a hard slider, you're not going to be used to it. It's hard to adjust. And especially when you go through, a bunch of bullpens, a lot of times there are unfamiliar names, and it's just going to, I think that's probably a smart move by Kapler to enforce that, to make it even harder for hitters to get used to, getting back into the groove, especially when you see unfamiliar slots, pitches, names,
Yeah, I mean, also a lot of teams, like, we didn't talk about the roster expansion, right? It used to be 25, now it's 30. So you see teams go into their pen a lot earlier. You got live and fresh arms like every day. So you got, a few more relievers than you used to have. So yeah, you can see a lot of teams, go into their bullpen earlier. There's like shorter leash on their on the starters. They start to struggle, just go to the pen right away. I mean, it's been working. So
do you think the shorter leash is because of just trying to progressively get them to more pitch counts, or do you think it's strategic?
I think it could be both. Like it could be strategic, but also like, they say pitchers have been like, they're gonna try to limit their pitch count, but like over this whole quarantine, like what is their pitchers to do? Throw pens. So these guys have been working, conditioning their arms. I mean, obviously pens, they're not the same as like, throwing to live hitters. But I think a lot of these pitchers, like over the off season, like you've seen on Instagram and stuff, like these guys workouts, and like as a pitcher, you just like get a catcher, get a mound. A lot of these guys can afford it, and throw pens. So I think a lot of the starters, I think they're a lot more conditioned than a lot of people think.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I wrote down a couple of pitchers that I watched or read highlights about and wasn't really impressed with their outings. So I'll go over their pitch counts too. So Kyle Hendricks went complete game, 103 pitches. Adam Wainwright went 6 innings, 83 pitches. DeGrom was pulled in the 5th after 72. Bieber went 6 innings, 97. Soroka went 6, 70 pitches. Alcantara went 6.2, 87 pitches. So it's interesting, right? Like some pitchers could go deeper than others, and we don't know if it's strategic or if they're trying to limit health concerns, or is it
Actually,
just the
looking at
coaches know which is more prepared? Like it's interesting because we
I
don't really
think
know all this, right? We don't know
I
what the
think it
coach
could
is
be
thinking.
strategic. I mean, look, it also might be health considerate, but if you do have an expanded roster, I think why not use those relievers and maybe shorten up the game, and then your starter will be even more fresh the next game.
Mhm.
You really do want to get him to those 6 innings, and then maybe only 2 runs, and then like you said, like if you have three really good relievers, I mean, all you have to really do is get past the 7th inning. You have the 8th, 9th. So I think this shortened season, with this expanded roster, benefits the teams that are deeper. Um, and I personally, so going back to like who I would rather take though, I think when it goes down into the playoff runs, I'd rather have Max Scherzer. I would rather have Max Scherzer or like any of those top quality arms, and then go give me 7 innings, and then okay, hopefully my team scored 3 runs, and then we'll give it off to my bullpen. Or even if he doesn't, even if like the top arms don't play that 7 game, I can still count on them to come in and maybe close it out. So I think it is like you do want a really good deep bullpen, but I mean I still would take Garrett Cole or like Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, I think it depends on that trio we were talking about, right? If you had the Astros trio last year, I think I'd go Astros easily, or the Nationals, Corbin, Strasburg, Scherzer. But if we go to like a trio like the Dodgers, like right now it's Buehler, Kershaw, and then the third is kind of we don't really know. Then maybe a bullpen. But yeah, when you have like the Nationals one, I think Nationals starting pitch, especially in the playoffs when they're really able to go deep. I think right now it's hard to say, right? Because we don't really know how deep pitchers can go. But
yeah. I had an important on a side note. So the thing that Ryota mentioned with the pitch counts. So if you see like there's kind of a trend, right? So you have Soroka, young guy, he's 22, making his first start, making his first opening day start. So they kind of limited his pitches to 70. But then you also have guys like Kyle Hendricks, right? He threw 90 something, and then but he's kind of a vet, right? So he's been around for a while. So maybe those veteran guys, they're allowing them to go a little deeper into games. And also like you can look at injury history too. So DeGrom, they pulled him kind of early, even though he was dominating, but he's just coming off of like some back stiffness, right? I think it was. So there's kind of I think with every pitcher it kind of varies, just looking at like their experience, like their injury history, and then just kind of probably how they're feeling that day. But as far as that goes,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, also going back to all the way back now, talking about the new playoff or the new format for extra innings. This could be also where your relieving core comes in handy, like you said. Maybe the starter only goes 6 innings, but with that expanded roster and that deeper bullpen, maybe you're more suited to go 11, 12, 13 innings. And then I don't know. We could talk about the runner starting on second base in the first game with the Angels and the A's and how that went. Were you guys able to watch that game?
Yeah, I saw that, and then that's another thing. A lot of players are pretty up in the air about that. A lot of them aren't really big on that, on having that runner on second base. So that kind of even like is more important on the bullpen then, right? A bigger reliance on the bullpen, having guys to come in and like not give up a hit with a guy on second, because a hit wins the game, right? So you gotta really buckle down there. So that could even make a bullpen that much more important.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that Angels Athletics game. So Shane, did you watch part of it? That ending?
Yeah, actually, I watched.
Oh, you watched all? Okay, well, that's awesome. Because we all watched all of it too. So it was interesting, right? Because the Angels had Ohtani on second base. I think this is the top of the 10th, right? And then they had like Jared Walsh or something hitting, or somebody wasn't familiar with. But yeah, the commentator was like, yeah, he's probably going to bunt here, or maybe they'll walk him to get into a double play situation. I think that's kind of what we thought would happen. Bunt him over to third, or maybe the team would intentionally walk him to get a double play situation. But surprisingly, none of that happened. Madden didn't do anything. He just let the hitter hit, right? And then they get an out. I think he struck out. And then the next batter, he hit that ground ball. And then, or so there's some weird play that
Ohtani went to second, but it was thrown to third, so he got out.
Right.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and then the next inning, the Athletics, I think Laureano was hitting, and he's like not that much of a. I mean, he's a good hitter, but he's not like Mike Trout hitting. And he didn't bunt or anything. So then we were kind of like, okay, so like, so all this strategy that we intentionally thought would happen didn't happen, and we were all kind of confused, especially with Madden, who's kind of like a, I don't know, like a
Savvy
non-traditional kind of
mastermind.
coach, and then Bob Melvin is a seasoned veteran coach. Just no bunting happened at all. And it was really weird to watch because we all thought, I think that was going to happen. What do you guys think?
So my take on this is I'm okay with the Angels not bunting. Because if I was the Angels, I would know that the A's were coming up with the middle of their order, right? I
Mm-hmm.
knew we would, if I were the Angels, we would need more than one run.
Mm-hmm.
So I was okay with the guy swinging away and possibly getting a base hit or something else
Mm-hmm.
with no outs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what really boggled me was when they didn't score and then the A's didn't bunt. That was
Yeah.
surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why you wouldn't bunt at that sense. But I mean, it worked out, but still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that is true, but like, yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on this. Like, especially like we said, like with all the analytic based baseball nowadays, like a lot of it's just launch angle, right? Getting the ball up in the air. Because especially with the juice balls, maybe it's the juice balls now. They just go. So, well, yeah, especially wait. Okay, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, okay. Angels, A's, yeah, yeah. So and then also like by bunting, you're kind of taking the bat like out of the hands of the guy. So I mean, if you think about like run on second, like a knock's probably gonna score him, and then you hit up sac fly, it'll probably move him to third. So like you kind of roll the dice there. Take those three chances that you're gonna get with the guys at bat, and just let them bang.
That's true. What do you guys think about this though? So we know it was implemented by the MLB, and we know that there was some pushback about it. Maybe the two managers were like, "I'm not going to give in. I'm not just going to bunt because we now have that ability to." Maybe they were kind of like, "We can do this without bunting. We can just, do it ourselves and do a single, and we don't need that runner on second." It was kind of more of like a because when I look at it, and I'm against this, when we look at it, you just need to bunt him over and then sack fly. That's not a lot of work. Maybe what the managers were thinking was like, we don't want the easy way out. That's what I just threw that out there. I don't know.
I mean,
It seemed like
possibly,
it.
but I mean, yeah, but I don't know, possibly, but maybe I don't know. As a manager, you're trying to win at all costs, right?
Hmm.
Because like your job's on the line essentially. You never know.
That's
But
true.
yeah, I don't know. I just think we'll take that chance having three guys with the bat in their hands. They don't want to take the bat out of their hands, especially managers trusting their hitters.
Yeah,
So
but maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like we don't need them to bunt. We have more faith in this, and
yeah,
and that's why they didn't bunt instead of okay, we can take.
Another potential thing is maybe they haven't practiced bunting in a while.
Yeah, you
So
would hope they
maybe
do though.
maybe later in the season we'll see them bunt more in that situation. If they can have team practices and bunting. Because I remember when I was watching the Seattle summer camp, which they like streamed on YouTube, after like an inning ended, they would do a bunting situation where the batter would have to bunt, pitcher would bunt, and they'd field it. So I'm just curious, maybe because I don't think any of these hitters are practicing bunting on their own in quarantine.
yeah,
So that could be
yeah,
one
yeah,
reason too.
Yeah,
yeah. No one likes bunts, anyways. I mean, the Mariners might have been practicing bunts, but I don't know. Maybe that's why they're always in last place. Okay.
But
oh, but
yeah, it's an
it's because
interesting thing.
we're drafting players like Zanino who strike out.
That's true.
Um,
Strikeouts, but hit bombs. Fun
that's
for the
true.
fans. There you go.
The juice to balls.
Yep.
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that both teams didn't bunt. Um,
Yeah,
but it worked out, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
bases loaded, a grand slam.
yeah. On the next inning, yeah,
So
Wild. One of the wild first games. So.
yeah.
wild first games. What do you guys? Before we let go, what are you guys looking forward this season? What do you guys want to happen this season? What are you most excited about?
I mean, I'm excited for the season in general. I want to name a player that I'm very excited to watch. Is Vlad. I think the hype was huge on Vlad. He didn't quite live up to expectations, but this guy had an 80 hit tool for a reason. How many prospects ever had an 80 hit tool, right? This guy, his dad is Vlad, obviously one of the goats. You know, 80 hit tool. That's all I have to say. Like this guy's a pure hitter. They got the DH spot. They're moving him to first base. Vlad playing back in Buffalo now, where he hit almost 400. Just, I think Vlad's gonna go off this year. I mean, he's no bombs, but you look at his singles, like 120, 110 exit velo. That's insane. This guy's hitting absolute kiss missiles everywhere. So it's gonna be a
That's
fun
true.
year for Vlad.
He didn't perform as I mean, he didn't come off the scene like you said. So maybe this is the year where he really gets going. What about you, Ryota?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited. Baseball's back. Basketball's gonna be back soon too, so we get more stuff to do. I'm excited to see the Mariners, especially Kyle Lewis, because right now is in talks for Rookie of the Year. We'll see how that pans out. I'm also excited to see some of the other younger players, like Nick Madrigal's probably gonna get called up soon. Joe Adell may get some playing time. Already, right now, Wilson Contreras' younger brother, he's already playing for the Braves right now because the two catchers, who sat out because of COVID worries. So I think we're going to see a lot of young names. Maybe we'll see Joey Bart later this season. We don't really know yet.
Another big name, Dylan Carlson on the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of big names we're probably going to see because service times, the requirement, whatever, is going to end pretty soon. So
that rule is so. I don't know about that rule. We can talk
that's a
about
discussion
that later,
for another day.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad baseball's back. I hope Miami is self-quarantining and not in contact with anybody because I mean it just got started. I think everybody is ready for some baseball, even if it's not their team. They just want to have something going on. But yeah, Shane, thanks for coming on as always. We'll see you another time, possibly for an NBA bubble update. And you can give us your quick takes, your locks.
But
yeah,
I'm home with the lock, so you can't fade me right now. I'm hot.
All right. Do you have anything else?
No, we're good.
All right. See you guys.
All right, boys. Yep. Thanks for having me on.